Hey guys, it's Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales here. Here's 5 reasons why your bike might feel slow. So you bought yourself a fancy racing road bike just like this one here, and you're thinking, why doesn't it feel as fast as it looks like it should be? In today's video, we're going to give you a few different tips to help make the bike feel a little faster. The first point might seem obvious, and I suppose that's why it's the first one, your tire pressure. Maybe you're riding along with a really low tire pressure, so there's a lot of friction on the road as you're pedaling along. Kind of makes the bike feel heavy in a sense. As you're pedaling, it's sort of bouncing a little bit, or maybe the tires are a little bit wishy-washy and you can feel the bike wandering underneath you rather than that power going straight into the road. You might be losing a little bit of it through the flex of the rubber tires. Underinflation can also cause cornering problems. As you're steering, the bike might not go exactly where you tell it to go because the tire's able to roll a little bit. Even things like braking performance, it might be a little bit less powerful when you're talking about braking because now there's a little bit of play in the tires. And even just the grip level of the tire. As you're trying to pedal and put a lot of power down, the tire might be bending a little bit rather than it staying nice and solid and allowing that power delivery straight into the road. So here's a couple of ways to be able to work out if our tire pressure is too low. We can start with just a simple squeeze test. This one here, I'm able to squeeze the tire all the way. You could ride around on that, but it would feel like a pogo stick as you're riding around. It should be quite a bit harder than that. This one here feels a lot better than what that one did, but it still feels a little bit low. I can still squeeze it a little bit. Let's put the pressure gauge on it to double check. Okay, we're at like 30 PSI, so it was actually much lower than I thought. We should be closer to about 80. As a general rule of thumb for road bikes, we're usually somewhere between about 80 and 100 PSI. There's a lot of variables that can go into that, like the size of the tire, whether you've got tubes or if you're tubeless, a few variables, but an average rule of thumb is somewhere between 80 and 100 PSI. And there we go, rock hard now. And there we go. Now we know that the tire pressure is nice and perfect and we're ready to go for a bike ride. So you've just got back from a bike ride and your bike still feels too damn slow. Here's some of the other things it could be. Maybe your gears aren't set up correctly, or maybe your chain's really dry and needs some chain lubricant. Maybe you're riding along and you're trying to hit a gear and it's just not quite ticking across and then it falls into the gear. We want it to be nice and crisp and change gear as soon as we tell it that we're ready to shift. This could mean that the gears are a little bit out of tune and need a little adjustment. So if you need to adjust your gears, we've got a video further back on our YouTube channel talking about how to adjust your gears, but it might even be that you need to re-lubricate your chain. Maybe it's really dry and the metal chain links are rubbing up against each other and it's just putting premature wear on the whole drivetrain. It's just adding a little bit more friction that your legs have to push through. That makes the bike feel a little bit heavier. So the way that you can fix this is actually really simple. You're just going to apply some chain lube and make sure that the gears are all lined up properly. Applying chain lube is something that we've spoken about in so many of our YouTube videos here at Recycle Bicycle Sales, so you can watch probably any video further back there talking about the chain. But the long and short is that we're trying to put some lubricant on each drop of the chain. A really annoying one that we might find is that the brakes might be rubbing. Maybe you're riding along and you can hear them rubbing, ting, 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 or making all these different horrible noises the brakes shouldn't be making. Maybe they're rubbing and you're having to push the extra power to get through that brake that's locked on. That could be another one we're looking at. So how do you actually tell if your brake's rubbing and how do you fix it? Well, the short answer is if you lift that wheel off the ground and spin it, does it keep spinning or does it stop quite quickly? If it stops quite quickly, that quite clearly means that the brake is rubbing and we need to readjust it so that the wheel can spin freely again. You can check this on both the front wheel and on the back wheel. If the brakes are rubbing and you do need to adjust it on either the disc brake or the rim brakes, we've got a few videos further back on our YouTube channel talking about how to do it properly, but the long and short of it is we're just going to adjust it so that it can spin freely again, but we want to make sure that both brakes still work when we need them to work. So we're going to test this bike here. It should have ran a little bit longer than that. I think that front brake actually is rubbing a tiny little bit. So I'm going to make a quick adjustment to make it work a little bit better. Quick little adjustment. And now it keeps running for quite a lot longer. Now we're going to be able to go faster, easier. Now this is just free speed. So let's say your tires are at the right pressure, your gears are well maintained and well lubricated, and your brakes are not rubbing and the bike still doesn't feel good, but your legs are pushing out so much power it feels like you're not going anywhere. It might be to do with the fact that you might have the incorrect seat height, the distance from your feet up to where your bum sits on the saddle. If you want an in-depth video about how to adjust your seat height, we've done one further back on our YouTube channel. It was actually one of our most well-received and most viewed and liked and all that stuff video, so it might be a good one to go and check out. We talk about 3 different ways that you can adjust your seat height there. The reason that I think it's super important to have the correct seat height is your legs are made up of lots of different muscles, but it's sort of 4 main muscle groups. They are your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, and your calves. If your seat height is too low, you might be using a lot of one muscle and not a lot of the other. So you're being a little bit biased towards one muscle, and that muscle might not be quite as strong as 2 different muscles working together. So if you can get the seat to the correct height, whether you've got to lower it a little bit or raise it a little bit, you'll be able to get it to that perfect spot where you can get good efficiency from your entire leg. That's going to help you get some free speed out of the bike too. To adjust to the perfect seat height, we're going to use a few calculations and numbers and maths. You'll see more about that in that YouTube video as well. But the good thing about adjusting a seat height is once you've got it to the right height, then it's absolutely perfect, and it's one of those set and forget things. Once it's set, you don't have to keep readjusting it all the time. The reason that we use maths and calculations to get the perfect seat height is that we want to get the most efficient pedal stroke that we can. We want to get that perfect distance of the inseam of your leg from the pedal to where your bum actually sits on the saddle. We want to make sure that that seat height is absolutely perfect for your body, because your seat height is different to their seat height. I'm quickly going to mention here, while we're talking about seat height, the seat angle, the actual angle that the saddle is sitting on. If you've got it nose down, or if you've got it nose up, it can change how your pelvis sits on the bike, which can change the whole angle of your back. This is a difficult one for me to quickly brush over in a topic here, so I'm just going to say, try a few different things. You'll know what works for your body. If you want a more in-depth video about what the saddle angle actually means, let us know in the comments below, and I'd be happy to go into it in its own full-length video. The next thing that could slow your bikes down are the bearings. There's bearings scattered all throughout a bicycle. There's a couple in the front wheel, there's at least 2, sometimes even 4 in the back wheel, there's some in the bottom bracket, which is what lets the pedals and the cranks spin freely, and there's even some in the headset. That's what allows the handlebars to steer while you're riding. All of these different bearings are consumable parts, which means that we are eventually going to wear through them and need to replace them. So maybe those bearings are becoming close to the end of their life. That could slow your bike down. So how do you actually tell if they're worn out? Well, they might be making a creaking noise as you're riding along, or perhaps as you maybe steer the handlebars, you can feel it's all like sandy and gritty and a bit notchy. That could mean that the headset bearings are a little bit worn out. Maybe with your bottom bracket where your cranks are, as you're pedaling along, you might be able to hear it making a really dry, loud, just a dry noise. I don't know how else to explain that. In the wheel bearings, maybe as you spin them, you can hear them making a noise, or you can even feel some vibrations through the bike. That could mean that the wheel bearings are worn out as well. When we're looking at the wheel bearings on the back wheel, there's usually 2 in the hub, and there'll be 2 more in the free hub bearing. The free hub bearing is the bit that sits underneath where the cassette is. It's what allows the cassette to spin freely from the rest of the wheel. If you're riding down the beach or down a hill or whatever it is, and you stop pedaling and were to take your feet off, if your pedals keep moving and the whole chain keeps moving, that means that your free hub bearings are worn out and you're gonna need to replace them. If you're sprinting into the finish line with a worn out free hub bearings, sprint, 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 and then you suddenly stop pedaling, the chain could come off and get all caught up into the cranks there. That's no fun. If I'm being honest, looking at these bearings might be a difficult one for some people to do at home. So when you take your bike into the local bike shop to get a service, you could just politely ask them, hey, while you're doing the service, can you let me know the condition of the different bearings? You could even specifically say wheel bearings or headset bearings or bottom bracket bearings, or you could just say all the bearings on the bike as a blanket. On bearings, there's so many different types of bearings out there. There doesn't need to be that many different types, but there's different qualities of bearing. You can get a bottom bracket for $50, but you can also get a bottom bracket for $500. I, as just a random person that rides on a Sunday, would say there's pretty much no difference, but I'm sure the people in the comments section will tell me that there is a big difference. They'll spin better, they're better performing, they'll last longer, all of these sort of things. Personally, I don't see the need to spend $500 on a bottom bracket though. But with that being said, if you'd like to see a video comparing a $50 and a $500 bottom bracket, let us know in the comments below and I'll start a GoFundMe page so that you can help me afford this $500 bottom bracket. I'd love to do a video like that. So if it's something that you think you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below and I'll see if we can make it happen. Honestly, I could think up so many more ideas, but I've only got a short time available today to make this video. So if you reckon that you'd like to see another video and you want more tips about how to make your bike feel a little bit faster, let us know in the comments below. And again, if you want to see a $500 bottom bracket, let us know and I'll start a GoFundMe page. Otherwise, I'm going to say thanks for watching and I hope your bike feels a little bit faster now and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys.